You're watching the New Stack Makers, a podcast for people who develop, deploy, and manage at-scale software. For more information and articles about at-scale technologies, please visit thenewstack.io. Now enjoy the show.
I'm Frédéric Ladinois with the New Stack, and I'm here with Sumeet Singh from Aptori.
Happy to be here, Frédéric.
Yeah, I mean, we go back a long time. The first time we met was at an OpenStack party in Silicon Valley.
Yes.
10 years ago?
10 years ago,
10 years ago, yeah.
Long time.
How did you get from the OpenStack ecosystem to where you're now? And maybe talk a little bit also what Aptori does, obviously.
So happy to be here talking to you again. So OpenStack was this most amazing cloud computing system. And our previous startup, we built all of this tooling to make OpenStack autonomous. Right? You have an OpenStack cloud environment, you run our software on it, and it would just essentially run it for you without humans. And
but also without AI back.
No, there was some amount of AI,
Okay.
but not the Gen AI. There were lots of
ML.
machine learning in there. And then we were eventually acquired into Juniper. And once we were there, Juniper has this extremely large customer base the world over of these large telecoms, large financial institutions who are in the regulated industry. And because of various requirements, they were all running their own cloud computing environments. So we got the opportunity to go in there and essentially sell them our software and help them run their clouds, right? Customers in Japan, like Fujitsu, Deutsche Telekom in Europe, BT in the UK. So lots of fun, lots of learning. And really kind of like what happened in that journey was that as we worked more and more with these large companies in the regulated space, and they were digitally transforming with the goal that, hey, we want to be like the Googles, and we want to be releasing software all the time. We don't want to be hardware anymore. We want to be virtualized. We want to be, software and releasing. We want to be DevOps. Every single time it'd be like, yeah, we're ready to release, but there's this long list of requirements that comes from security that, hey, they got to do all these things before you're ready to release.
Right.
And it's kind of like heartbreaking, right? You put all this effort in, you have this goal that, hey, I've got to release everything in 6 minutes, but you can't achieve that. So that's roughly where we, started to think that, look, we've done this piece of automating the infrastructure, getting the infrastructure running. How do we then, for these large companies, make it so that they are actually able to, release software that's secure, built with high quality, quickly?
Right.
And really the only way to do that is to make sure that as you're building your software, as you're building your applications, you build it with security in mind. And that's what Aptori is.
How do you do that?
So Aptori, the way we say it is it's an AI security engineer. It's your AI security engineer.
Okay.
It has all these skills. There's all these agents. These agents can scan your code for security weaknesses. They can actually test your applications and your APIs to see if there's any vulnerabilities in there. More specifically, vulnerabilities related to access control, like if all the users, if they can see only the things they're supposed to see.
Sure.
Then it has skills to triage your issues. And when it's triaging, it's essentially it's not just like a black box triage. It's surfacing to you the different steps the agent took, what the thought process was, so that when you see the result of the triage, you're also able to be like, yeah, that makes sense to me, and I trust this thing a little more now. And then most importantly, it even has the ability to give you code fixes. And it can do all of this in real time. And that's really what the big transformation has been with Gen AI, that
Sure.
Especially with things like Flash, Gemini Flash. We can take all of this, have this running in your SDLC as part of your Git. And as the user is, trying to, do that new merge, it responds immediately, tells you, what all the issues are. It suggests fixes to you, gives the reasoning to you. And right there, you can actually talk to the agent as well. If you want more information, you just, on your comment, say, hey, give me more information. It gives you more information. And then when you have the confidence that, hey, this thing is telling me the right things, you say, accept the change and merge.
Yeah.
And that's how you just build secure software. That's the future of secure software.
There's a bunch to unpack there, I think.
Yeah.
But let's take it back a few steps. When you started out, how long ago is that when you started out?
So we've been building this product for 3 years now.
All right.
Just a little bit over 3 years.
Few people talked about AI agents 3 years ago, right?
Yeah.
But was that early product different, or?
The very first iteration of the product was more heavy on ML. And then as time has gone on, we blended in all of that early ML with the new Gen AI capabilities.
Sure. Now, who is it that you're typically selling to?
So we're selling to large banks, large telecom operators in, essentially the regulated space. What's unique about our solution, to other things that are out there is that it's deployed as a completely private instance for this large enterprise. To the point that even we as a company don't have visibility into how they are consuming the product and how the AI is adapting to their use case.
Which means right now it has to run in like a VPC, I guess, right? To have access
actually,
to this.
some users have deployed large pieces of the system on-prem as well, but for the AI capabilities, yes, it's part of the VPC.
I talked to companies that are trying to do AI in a similar way for security as you, right? What are you finding? What are those customers looking for right now beyond kind of that private aspect?
So what we are finding is look, if you go to a typical, if you go to these organizations, on average, they'll have like anything between 15 and 20,000 APIs. It's an insane number of APIs. They'll have thousands of engineers, right? And that's on one side. On the other side, they have these controls, that come into play because of compliance requirements. That could be hundreds of line items, right?
Yeah.
You can't train all your engineers on all those hundreds of controls.
Sure.
Right? Yet the security team, they are expected that, hey, all those hundreds of controls will be met.
Sure.
And they're supposed to ensure that they're met for every release, right? So that is where our customers are finding us most helpful, right? It's like we become like a proxy for the security engineering team, where they're able to say, hey, here are all the controls. And then our agents can do the validation and be checking and ensuring that all those controls are being met and feeding back to the developers in real time through Git that, hey, these are your violations.
Yeah.
These are the things you need to fix.
Yeah, because one thing developers deal with, especially in security, is just alert fatigue, right?
Yeah, absolutely. This is where all of this new AI changes the game, right? Because just going back to the first version of the product, the first version of the product could not give the fix, right? And I used to tell my co-founder Travis all the time that, look, we're only giving these developers bad news, right? We're going to them and we're telling them, hey, you need to fix these 6 more things. Hey, you need to fix these 8 more things. And they're busy getting the feature out.
Yeah.
Right? But with the code fix, with AI generating these code fixes and like complex code fixes, it's not like, hey, change this line here. It's the proper diff through different sections of your code, to fix it. With this, we're giving them, okay, you made this mistake, but look here, there's a potential resolution you can use, and it also at that same time tells them why it's doing it.
Right.
Hopefully that next time they don't, kind of repeat that mistake again.
Yeah, and you're saying here's a potential solution, right?
Yeah,
it's still up to the developer to
now here again,
accept.
Absolutely, but here again, where this experience becomes really real is it's a two-way channel. If you don't like the solution or you don't understand something about the solution, you can ask, and the agent will respond directly in Git. right? So they don't even need to leave the screen. I feel that with all of this new vibe coding, these are the kinds of tools that will complement essentially the software you're producing.
Yeah, because the vibe coded code is not necessarily the secure code, right?
I mean, I at least what I'm reading, at present, it's not. Yeah, it'll get better in the future, but then the devil's always in the details, and the complexity always comes as different developers integrate their code into the larger system.
Yeah.
And tools like ours can help with that.
Yeah. Are you finding that the engineers are occasionally resistant to using these tools, or worried about the code they're getting back from these AI tools? Because there seems to be two schools within the engineering community, right? The ones that are really into the AI, LLM kind of coding, and others who are extremely resistant to it.
Everywhere we've been, we've found our users to be very curious. And they all definitely want to try it and see how it works. We do, like early on, it did used to be like, oh, I think I'm smarter than the AI.
Yeah, exactly.
But that wasn't the whole point of it. The point of it was this is the most assistive technology for you, and treat it as such. And early POCs were very hard because you'd go into an organization, and almost always the smartest engineer would raise their hand, and the smartest engineer would be like, oh, let me see if this thing is smarter than me. But AI has, all this Gen AI, it's improved tremendously over the last few years. Every month, the improvements are just mind-boggling, right? Like our first iteration, to be honest, for this code fix was unusable because it would take so long to prepare the fix.
Yeah.
Right, but when Flash came out, that's when things started to change very rapidly. Now it's very responsive.
Were you at a point where you actually were ready to give up and thought this just isn't going to work, or did you have the optimism it would get better?
No, we actually spent a lot of time in coming up with different ways to speed it up. A lot of that code we've thrown away, right? Because the LLMs have improved so much. But yeah, there was a period in there where we wrote a whole bunch of code to make sure that these things that were slow or not working in the LLMs were somehow not visible to the user.
Yeah. Talking about throwing away code, how often do the engineers accept the code that you're generating now?
That's a great question. We use it internally. Internally, our engineers find it really useful. With the larger enterprises, when I said we didn't have visibility, I really meant it. We actually do not have the visibility into the consumption there. And look, and I understand that, right? And I think this is one of those areas where as these agentic systems evolve, today we say, hey, agents, they should be autonomous. We should be able to give them a task. They should break them down. They should achieve the task. I get that. But as time goes on, right, I feel that we will all need to talk about, hey, did the work that it do, was it of high quality?
Right.
Going back to this question you're saying, how many times did you accept it, right? Is the way I'm using it, what about my privacy, right? If we're building a security system that's surfacing the vulnerabilities in your applications and in your code, then I don't want the world to know about it.
Right? Yeah.
I want to make sure that I'm the one who knows about it. I fix it and it's taken care of. It was never released, right? So I do think that these things will become forefront as well, and we will all be tested and evaluated on those metrics as well.
Are you thinking about taking what you're building right now to go beyond security as well?
Yes.
Tell me more.
So it's this is one of those things. We have the entire framework, right? The way our system works is that it truly over time tailors itself to your needs, and the way to the point where the weights change as well to the models. and you as the enterprise own those weights as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as they're evolving. And now, the next thing that our users have been asking us for is, the next agent, for example, is, hey, so you've done the test, you've done the scan, you've done the fix. Can this also now start to respond to queries, like compliance questions?
Right.
Like people submit forms all the time. Can it evaluate those forms for me? So that's kind of like that next agent that we are making. But again, that's in the security space. But once we're doing things like this, and we can do things like sentiment analysis, we could be doing anything.
Yeah, which is always a hard spot to be in for a startup. We could do anything. You have to choose.
Yeah, but this problem, right? I mean, there's a reason me and Travis got into solving this problem, right? Like it was like when, this is our third startup, right? And every single time, right, it's like, get the features out, get the product out. And from day zero, the thought process was like, look, yes, we want speed, but why compromise? Right? It should be secure.
Sure.
It should be of high quality. And that's really what the kind of the mission we set for ourselves, right? Like, look, and the thought process even there, right? I mean, when we started, it was like, oh, what's the news? You don't need a college degree to start writing software, right? Now, I do feel that when I went to college and learned engineering, I did learn a few extra things. Right?
Yeah.
And if you then keep lowering the bar on how code is produced, then the question is, okay, how do you make sure the quality is, you need to keep increasing the bar on quality too.
Yeah.
So how do you do that? And that's really what the thought process was, and it's a mission. So
More
we are
agents,
right now very focused on it.
Yeah. It's interesting as you were walking me through that, you said next thing is another agent and another agent. Is that how you're thinking now about adding features? It's not adding features, but adding agents?
That's really what it is. It's absolutely, it's adding more agents. And look, it's each agent is its own persona, right? It's an entirely full, it's almost like the way to think about this is, we're calling them agents very easily now, but a few years ago, each one of those agents could have been a full startup on its own.
Yeah. Yep.
Right? But that's how fast things are moving now. We just casually talk about, hey, we'll spin up this new agent that can do X, Y, and Z for you.
Which also, does it lower the barrier of entry for a competitor for you, from a business perspective? Because somebody else could spin up another agent?
This is the key thing here now. The way we think about this, and I'm sure other companies are doing as well, is it can't all be just AI.
Right.
It can't all be just Gen AI, right? We still have a bunch of technology in there that's proprietary that does the ML, but the AI works alongside it. So there is a mix of things. There is a secret sauce, and that's how the systems will be, right?
Right.
Specifically, let's just say specifically, in our case, I can give you an example, right? Now, when I say, hey, we want to scan, right? We want to test, we want to look at your code, look for security weaknesses, we want to scan your APIs, your applications, your cloud. When we're doing the scan, you do want some amount of determinism.
Sure.
You can't just leave it to Gen AI to kind of take the greedy approach and say, hey, look, these are the 10 things I found, or these are the 20 things I found. You want to make sure that whatever those controls are, whatever those checks are, that all of those checks were done.
Right.
Right? So that's where the secret sauce kind of comes in, right? You have to build that determinism in.
Yeah.
So it's not all just Gen AI. We all have to, craft that system.
Yeah. It's not all Gen AI. Doesn't seem to be the motto of this conference, but
it's like this, right? Even in the keynote, we saw the demonstration, right? At some point, the value of everything that was going on in the conversation was that transaction that happened in the end that was most
Right.
likely an API call made to a system that concluded a transaction.
Yeah.
So that the part where the money was made was not
Still an old REST API that
Yes.
goes to a mainframe somewhere probably to move
Yeah.
the money in the
Basically.
end. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more videos like this, you can always subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're on all the major social media platforms. You can always find us at thenewstack.io. We hope to see you soon.